I'm Phil Stark. I'm here with Jake Hogan on Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan, and I'm concerned that he doesn't want to be alone, so I'll be with him, and hopefully one of you will be able to tag in for me soon.
Don't be alone. Don't be alone. Don't be alone with Jake Hogan. Bonus episode!
Hey guys, welcome to Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan. I'm Jake Hogan, and I'm glad you're here. I want to encourage everybody to write to me at dbawjk@gmail.com. The whole point of the show is that I connect with somebody or something out there in the world. That means you. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about the show. I'd love to hear what your compliments are, what your notes are, if you think we could do something better. I really, really want to hear your questions for the guests. Please write questions for the guests. I need them desperately. Also, if you like the show, tell a friend. That's how the audience can grow. And if the audience grows, then I will get a better seat in a restaurant the next time I try to make a reservation. So please tell a friend. Today we've got a very interesting show, and it comes at an interesting time. A lot of people in show business are worried show business is over. And our guest today is a former writer who turned into a therapist. So it's an interesting question: is when is the job that you're in actually no longer the job you should be in? When should you switch over and do something else? It's very hard to make that switch if you've dedicated your life to being the one thing, and then you have to decide, now I'm going to try to do that other thing. His name is Phil Stark. He's a comedy writer. He wrote some comedy movies and comedy TV shows, including the movie Dude, Where's My Car? And he worked on That 70s Show in South Park. He wrote this great book called... well, I assume it's great. I haven't read it yet, but it says Dude, Where's My Car-tharsis? Because he wrote the movie Dude, Where's My Car? And here it is, this book. And he said there's just 50 short chapters on how to improve your life. What could be bad? Where's the bad? So we're going to talk to Phil about when it's right to change your career and how you can achieve happiness by doing it right after this.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
Your story is that you were a professional writer working in the industry. You've written movies, Dude, Where's My Car?
Mm-hmm.
You've helped create a TV show,
Mm-hmm.
Dog with a Blog.
Yes.
And then you also became a shrink.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell did that happen?
Well, sort of like Hemingway going broke, right? Slowly and then all at once.
Right.
I worked for many years as a screenwriter and television comedy writer, and long story short, I started to get unhappy with it. I didn't enjoy it. I was working less. I was making less money. And it took me a while to figure out how I might change that. And that was a longer period of time. And then eventually I decided to go back to school, get my license. I'm a therapist now, and I work with all kinds of people, but especially people in the entertainment industry who are sort of going through now what I went through then.
Well, what possible problems could people in the entertainment industry have right now? I don't even understand.
Right?
That makes no sense.
Yeah. Well, apocalyptic is a word I hear thrown about a little bit.
No, it's been rough sledding in the entertainment industry for a little while now.
Yeah.
So you also wrote a movie called Dude, Where's My Car? And then you wrote a book called Dude, Where's My Car-tharsis?
Right. There's also a children's book called Dad, Where's My Blankie?
Okay.
Because I'm really determined to squeeze all the juice I can out of that title. I wrote the movie Dude, Where's My Car?
Right.
And when I became a therapist, I still wanted to write, except I'm not thinking about pilots or features. I write about mental health with my voice, the same voice that was in my scripts. Now it's with this nonfiction. This title, Dude, Where's My Car-tharsis? I had to do something with that.
Right.
I mean, it took me a while to figure out actually what the book would be about, but once I had the title, it was clear that was the direction I wanted to go in.
It takes so long to pursue the dream of becoming a writer. You have to think about it. You have to practice writing. You have to get good at it. You have to figure out how to sell things. You have to and then to get into the club of writers who actually work, which is a very limited group of people. Mm-hmm. And then you sort of go through that and you help create a show. That's another rarefied group of people. To get to the point where you think, I'm going to give up all that sort of sweat equity I put into getting here to do that other thing. You said, you were not enjoying yourself. Is that a lot of writers don't enjoy themselves. That's part of the profession.
Well, yeah, it's true. I mean, listen, I always tell people to break into the business, you need equal parts talent, hard work, and luck.
Right.
With a sprinkling of chutzpah,
Right.
of course. And I had that, and I had a long career. I did 8 seasons on that 70s show. My first job was on South Park. Everything was going perfectly. But then, like a lot of people are experiencing now, when I was starting out, overall deals were handed out willy-nilly, and an overall deal meant you just sat in a bungalow at Radford and wrote.
Right.
Then they started saying, well, we'd actually like you to work on a show. And that was like amazing, much different. But after that 70s show, reality TV was really starting to take over. Multi-camera sitcoms were falling out of fashion. There was less work. I was just writing pilots, pitching pilots, writing features, writing specs. I started to feel like I was going to have to break in all over again.
Right.
And it's really hard, especially once you've had success, to not expect that success to happen again, especially when you have wonderful people in my life, my wife at the time, my family, my friends saying, you're so talented, you've done it before, certainly you'll be able to do it again. But at a certain point, the unhappiness I had with what I was doing started to outweigh the equity I'd built and the difficulty of changing that.
Was there a epiphany, a moment where you just went like, I've done with this?
Well, it was really long and slow. And I will say I was exploring graduate school while sort of making lateral moves, like exploring maybe working in advertising or writing in some other capacity instead of pitching shows to networks. And I had an agent at the time who took a spec I'd written and had found an actor who was interested and who was willing to maybe self-finance it. And she asked me to make a deck. And I was like, fine, I'll make a deck. And I made this sort of half-assed deck that wasn't so great. And then I gave it to this agent, and she called me. She said, this deck is sort of half-assed. It's not that great. And I said, yeah, I agree. And she said, well, can you make it better? And I was like, I don't really think I want to.
Right.
And she said something to the effect of, well, why wouldn't you want to? If this sells, you can be the showrunner. And in that moment, I realized, I don't want to be the showrunner.
Right.
8 years on that 70s show at Carsey Warner, my dream and what people had done before me was you get the overall deal, you write a pilot, you get to run the show the way you want, in that great family atmosphere, supporting people, and then it syndicates, and then maybe you retire or maybe you supervise it.
Right.
It took me a long time to realize that what my ultimate dream was different. It had changed. And one of the reasons why I was so unhappy was that it was very incongruous what I was doing now with what I wanted to do back then.
So what was the dream?
Well, the dream was just to come out here and become a comedy writer, period.
But when you were a kid, like you're watching TV thing, I could do this. I know you went to UT and you got into the television radio department there.
Well, I didn't really have an inkling that I would be a writer. I just knew I wanted to do something creative. I didn't know if it was be comedy or not. I think I gravitated to writing because it's something I could do on my own. I could have control over. So when I moved out here in 95, I just wrote. I got Sid Field's screenplay, how to write a screenplay in 21 days. I got a job at a cafe and I just wrote and wrote and wrote. Then I had a friend who said, you're pretty funny. Why don't you write something funny? So I wrote a Simpsons spec. I wrote a Seinfeld. And then the luck part of that equation was that a good friend of mine got me a job on a show that was going to be produced that was like a 6-month gig and for Comedy Central. It turned out to be South Park.
Oh, fantastic.
So I had an amazing launch to my career and everything really went very easily and well for a long time.
Was that a fun, crazy writer's experience?
It was amazing. It was amazing. Because Matt and Trey are just such geniuses and it's so funny. And that first season, Comedy Central encouraged them to do things like a network. You put together a writer's room, you read all these scripts.
Right.
And they brought in all these writers. And ultimately, Matt and Trey's way of doing things was really theirs. They didn't have a traditional writer's room. They ended up bringing in some people who they thought were really funny that they melded well with to help them. But they didn't bring any of the writers back. And I had chutzpah'd my way into writing a script, finishing a script actually. I was a writer's assistant. I pitched myself as the writer's assistant. And they let me finish a script. And when I got that credit, I was really bummed that I wasn't going back to South Park. And then I met on that 70s show and then I saw what the guild minimums were and then I get an office and everything. And then I realized that this was going to be for the best.
Yeah. This is not on topic, but they make their shows in a week.
Yeah.
They did,
it was crazy.
They did back then too?
Oh, yeah.
They wrote, recorded, and animated a show
so great.
instantly. How the fuck did they do that?
Well, it was everything was right there.
Yeah.
All the animators, the audio upstairs, downstairs, everything they needed was right there. And people were there around the clock and they would see something funny and make an episode about it. And then if the best thing I took away from that experience was that if anybody ever told Matt and Trey, like the network said, you can't do that, instantly that's what they were going to do. Fuck that. That guy told us we can't do that. Fuck that guy. And the whole ethos of the show, I felt, was always about saying the things that people said that they can't say, but in a really clever and funny way.
By the way, that fuck that ethos doesn't really work anywhere else but South Park. Like you still have to accommodate your bosses in other venues.
Yeah.
Not on South Park, but in other venues. All right, so then you moved on from South Park to
The 70s show.
that 70s show, which was it just starting or had been steaming along?
Well, I was there when we shot the pilot. They hired me very early on. That credit from South Park. I mean, I had a really lucky start where people ask me, how do I get an agent? And I say, well, just get a job on a hit show and get a credit.
Right.
Because I had people calling me.
But that is how you get an agent.
It's true.
Yeah.
Get the job and the agents come.
Right.
Yeah, and so I started on the first season of that 70s show, and I really grew up through that show. We did 8 seasons. It was a wonderful environment. Everybody at Carsey Werner, very family. Really supportive, and ultimately I am disappointed that I never got a chance to implement what I learned about running a show from those people on my own show.
Right. When Dog with the Blog you came on, you were not able to.
Well, the story behind Dog with the Blog is that I had written, one of the many specs I wrote was a really blue, like swingers version of a Buddy Multicam, except instead of Vince Vaughn, it was a dog with Vince Vaughn. And it was the dog talked, the dog took bong hits, the dog gave sex advice. It was really blue, and I was
Like Ted.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was always waiting for somebody to ask me if I had a talking dog show. And I was like, boom. Unfortunately, that meeting was at Disney Channel.
Right.
And it wasn't quite right for them, but they had the title already.
Right.
So I ended up writing the pilot. Ultimately, they passed on me running it and then ended up giving it to somebody else who then wrote a different pilot, who then ended up running the show. So in the guild, arbitration version of it, I've co-created it, but I never really had anything to do with the show itself.
Ah, okay. So now that you're a therapist, did Michael Kaplan from Dog with a Blog come and procure you as a shrink?
No. Most of my work does not come through my former, workmates.
Right.
But there certainly is a specific, type and an experience of working in the creative arts, and I work well with people in that capacity.
So tell me about that. So now I started seeing a psychiatrist not that long ago.
Okay.
And been enjoying my relationship with that psychiatrist.
Great,
It's been
great.
interesting. And I specifically asked another writer turned therapist named Dennis Palumbo.
Oh, Dennis Palumbo, legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, who'd be a good shrink for a writer? And so he recommended this shrink, and I'm going to, and for a million reasons. I said, I want to feel more inspired creatively. There was a lot of things that I was and am working on. So what do you bring to the table as a therapist to people in the creative arts? How do you see your special, your niche or your gifts?
Well, I relate well, I think, to artists and writers because oftentimes the issues that they deal with involve the imposter syndrome or the inner critic. Now, that's not to say everybody doesn't have that, but when you write, produce something, act in something, and you have a piece of yourself that you're giving to people,
Right.
it's very easy to internalize one thing I work with people on is taking notes, right? I'm not noting you, I'm noting the script.
Right.
So one thing that can really paralyze people in that sense is their own self-criticism and sort of the idea of they project whatever criticism they have about themselves onto the people around them will ultimately makes it difficult to have the kind of work we want.
Right. How many of your clients are writers or people in the industry?
A good amount. It's not all.
I want a number, specific number.
4.5.
Okay.
A good amount. It's not my entire practice, but is certainly something I'm leaning into now based on my own experience in that industry and also with what's going on in the industry now as well.
How can people have even afforded a shrink?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's not cheap, and it's often the first thing to cut in the budget.
What happens? So you see clients for a little while and they say, we're moving to Albuquerque?
Well, I've met clients and seen them, and then they've said, it's too expensive. I can't afford it anymore. I've met clients, work with clients who, you're right, like I'm out,
Right.
Or I sold a pilot.
Right.
So everybody's certainly different, but the things.
How do you know
that
the
come
person says I sold a pilot isn't delusional? How do you know that they're not?
Well, I IMDb them immediately after the session.
It's interesting because I'm at the age now where I've had a very nice long run, a nice career. And I think about other things. Like, I don't know what it would be that I would do other than what I've done. I like writing, I like directing, but I mean, I'm podcasting, which is not anybody's idea of a vocation. It's like if you want to make no money.
Podcasters on some drop down menus, I bet.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like if I was podcasting in a time machine, if I started podcasting 15 years ago. But so maybe podcasting is my thing. But I didn't start doing it because I thought it was a road to riches. I kind of did it because it was something fun to do.
Well, no matter how much success I think you have in a career, I think everybody experiences a phase of life where they stop and they look back and they see where they've come from and where they're going and wonder if they still are happy on that path. And sometimes they stay on it, sometimes they veer a little bit, sometimes they really change it up. I think it's very natural to have that kind of a moment where you question what you're doing.
It is. My father is a writer, and he worked well into his 70s. So the image I have of a writer is somebody who just starts writing when they're 20 years old and stops writing when they're like 78.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing. I mean, I for a long time I thought I would retire as a television comedy writer.
Right.
And then it became clear that wasn't going to happen. It took a while for me to accept that and then decide to do something else.
How do you view the change as a growth and not failure?
Personally?
Yeah.
I'm happier now than I've ever been.
Right.
And I think a big part of it is that it sort of felt like I was a wind-up toy walking along doing great, and then I hit a wall and just winding up right into that wall. So finally I turned it, and you realize that you can go around this wall, and that's where I'm at now.
Did you ever have the experience where you thought, well, I'm happy, but how do I express to my friends or other people who knew me from the old life that I really am happy?
Well, it's interesting because, I have so many friends who are still working in the industry, still comedy writers, and they would read my shows, they would put me up for jobs. Everybody was very supportive. And when I decided to make this change, nobody said, you're crazy, or what are you doing with your life? It was like, good luck, and you should write a book, and here's what the title should be. So I still have great relationships with those people, and they're all supportive, and of course they're referral sources for me as well.
Right. Has the book helped you get clients?
Maybe. The book is a shiny thing that I use in my pitch. It's not a book, a bestseller. I haven't made a bunch of money off of it, but it encapsulates some of my thoughts about therapy in general. It's actually a practical and an engaging guide to talk therapy divided into 50 short chapters, exploring metaphors that we often see in talk therapy. But it's a way I can differentiate myself as a therapist and use to pitch people.
What do you find is the most successful you've been as a therapist? Like, I imagine that therapy is having experienced it, it's slow, steady, hopefully.
Yeah.
There's 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing.
Yep.
You have to have a lot of patience when you're going through it. Yeah, I assume you have to have a lot of patience as a therapist.
Yeah.
How do you judge your success level with patients?
Well, everybody has a different experience in therapy. People often want to know, how long do I have to do this? Some people come to therapy in a crisis situation. They overcome that crisis, and then they love coming every week just to talk about what's going on in their lives. Some people, after 10 sessions, they think, I got this. But what people often don't understand about therapy, and what therapists often don't do, is say, I think you're done.
Right.
Maybe we're done with therapy, which is a good conversation to have. And the most rewarding experiences are when I'm working with a client on an issue that we've addressed. I feel like they've processed it, they're feeling better. And then we keep going a little bit, and then I'll say something like, you seem pretty good. We addressed X, Y, and Z that you mentioned at the beginning.
Right.
What do you think? Do you think we need to keep doing this? And they might say, you think I'm done?
Right.
Could I be finished?
Right.
And I'm actually getting goosebumps right now, because that is the most rewarding part of it, when somebody acknowledges that it's helped and they're ready to sort of go on in life without me.
What makes a good client? I never thought about this. What makes a good patient?
A good client or patient is somebody who is committed. Somebody who is there because they want to be.
Well, do you got a lot of people mandated by the courts to talk to you?
No, but that's a common thing. People who are mandated for therapy are often not really into being there, and it can certainly kill the vibe. And sometimes people might not want to be there after having been there for a little bit in private practice too.
Yeah. How do you know it's a good fit?
It's a lot like dating. Especially with the online component. Nowadays, both dating and therapy, you can go online, you can click by area code, you can look at pictures, you can read on them, and it can seem really great. But you really need to sit down at that Starbucks with that person, and very quickly, am I going to want to see this person for a second date? So I always tell clients, whether I'm seeing them or I'm referring them to see somebody else, it's like dating, and you need to find somebody you click with, because ultimately, I think what really affects the success of the therapeutic relationship is just the relationship itself.
I went into my third date with my therapist thinking there's gonna be sex. Was that wrong?
That's a little too fast.
Was that too
10
much,
sessions?
Too much like dating?
That's the HIPAA standard.
Okay, 10 sessions. Well, all right, and people I know lately have been doing a lot of journaling, and people I know who are sad are doing gratitude lists. Do you find any of those things helpful?
Absolutely. In fact, mindfulness is a huge thing. And oftentimes people think mindfulness is just meditation, and it can be, but mindfulness is just doing any activity that prevents you from ruining the past or anticipating the future, whether it's meditating or walking or exercising or drawing or yoga. Anything that can help you develop that sense of presence can help.
Do you think that experience of talking to people and delving into their personal lives in a very deep way would make you a much better writer now?
Absolutely. In fact, when I talk to screenwriting clients or teach or talk, I talk about as when I was starting out as a writer, there were people who were like, oh, I sit and I let the characters tell me what they want to do. And I always thought, that's bullshit. I need them to pick up the book and go to this next scene so that it's, I need them to set this up. Then I started to realize that when I saw that represented in TV and film, I thought it was bullshit, and I didn't like it because the character wouldn't do that. So now I can appreciate that it all starts with character.
Right.
And the reasons why they do anything is because of the understanding of their character. So it's almost like entertainment to see these clients and understand who they are as characters. And now I appreciate when I like a movie or a book, it's because it's very real and everything that the character is doing is based on who they are.
What do you think is the like the top 5 things that we should get from your book? What are you proudest of in the book that you sort of were able to sort of
Well, the book is a collection of 50 short chapters that each one has like a metaphor for something we talk about in therapy. So for instance, there's a chapter on change, which I experienced myself and I share with clients, which involves the idea of you're standing on top of a dam and the water is rising, and the water is rising, and your feet are going to get wet. You should get out there and do something else, but you're just not ready yet. And sometimes only when the water touches our feet are we ready to act. And I talk about that with clients in the sense that some of them might not be happy with their jobs. They're not getting a lot of work. It's all going to Canada, or the pay is less. Right. And they're frustrated not only because of that, but because they aren't acting. They're not doing anything to change. But I encourage them, hey, listen, don't beat yourself up for not being able to change. You might just be ready. Accept it, sit with it, and eventually it'll feel right to make this change.
Right. I don't know what that is about the human nature where you're frozen in fear for a brief moment until such time as the clock or other circumstances sort of forces your hand.
Right. And oftentimes those clients, what makes them feel really bad is their self-flagellation for not being able to act.
Right.
And that's sort of the double arrow. It's like you're getting shot by the industry. Don't go ahead and shoot yourself. Give yourself a break.
Right.
Somebody who's very self-critical might never be satisfied with their work, and that ultimately might make their work great.
Right.
And so in that way, sometimes our superpower, which can make us succeed in work, might be not a superpower in like our life or our personal life.
Well, I have the opposite, honestly, where I write something and I love it so much that when I get a note, even a legitimate note from somebody saying, I'm not crazy about this, it's like a little dagger. It's a little arrow. Like, and I know if I change it and fix it and something, it'll be better.
Well, you have the experience now. You can just pluck it out and take it out. Some people walk around with that dagger in their back, just feeling it.
But that it still hurts.
Or their front, depending on.
Yeah, it still hurts in that moment. It still hurts. Like, you don't like that thing that I liked. That's sadness for me.
But you're handling it great because ultimately people sometimes think, I don't want to feel that way. What can I do to change that? But the real trick of it is to accept that you feel that way, and that somehow lessens the power of it.
This has been very interesting. So my issue that you're helping me to solve is like, and here's the big question: when should I leave show business? Like this, my show is always about solving my problem.
Sure.
When should I give up on being a creative person in the way that I knew it before?
Yeah. Well, if you got a point in your career where you found yourself pitching a show or developing a scene and felt a queasy feeling in your stomach and wished you were doing something else, I would take that as a sign that maybe you don't want to do that anymore.
But that happens a lot. And then when I get something successful on, I feel much better about it.
Well, for me personally, I had that experience as a working writer, but by the end of my writing career, it was really clear I was depressed, I was sad, I felt ashamed. I mean, it was exponentially more than that. What you might talk about just having to rewrite an outline or something. Right.
Well, I'm not there yet. I feel like
You've got room. You got room.
I got room to grow. But then I'd have to figure out. You found a different dream. I would have to find my dream.
Yeah.
How do you decide what the next thing is?
I don't know exactly how to decide, but I do know that if you hold on too tightly to what your previous dream was, then your hands aren't available to grab what your next dream will be.
Right.
Right. So just being open to change and being accepting of the fact that you might not know what that change is or know what you want to do, that can be really liberating and sort of help you along the way.
Right. I mean, I've always, I've been in the world of, even since I was 5 years old, saying I'm going to be in the entertainment industry somewhere.
I mean, your dad.
And my dad, he had an interesting, fun world that he worked in. His writing job seemed horrible.
Well, I'm curious if your dad has ever talked about with you, like the idea. Did he ever think he would do something else, or would it end at a certain point?
I've asked him what you would be doing if you hadn't been a writer, and he says maybe he was sell office supplies somewhere. And his father ran a polo shirt company, so maybe he worked for that. He was kind of vague about
There's
it.
this new thing called staplers. I probably would have gone into.
He sold Olivetti typewriters for a long time. So like maybe that was his thing. So that's what he would do.
Mm-hmm. But I would also say it's never too late to change. And people often think, well, I have so much equity built up in this career. How could I ever change it? And then invariably, if they do take steps along the way, they look back and they say, I can't believe I didn't try that sooner.
So if I wanted to become an Olympic basketball player and just pursue that exclusively as my dream.
First, find the country with the shortest average height.
Right. Okay.
And get residency.
Right. It's going to be a high percentage Jewish country. So I don't know if Israel. What's the Israel basketball team like? I might be able to.
They're tall.
They're pretty tall.
They're pretty tall.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Then maybe I won't work on that so well. And I have a terrible outside game and a really bad inside game. So, but I can work on it.
Yes.
I can work on it. I don't know. All right. Well, this has been fascinating. I have some questions for you. It's a listener mail question that I want to help me with.
Now it's time for listener mail.
So JP writes, which episode of this podcast did you most recently watch or listen to, either for routine subscriber delight or in desperate preparation for today? And what part of the conversation resonated with you most?
I just listened to the Bryan Cranston episode yesterday.
Okay.
I was struck by his realization early in life that you can outwork people and that work is a quality that is a talent and that some people don't have, and how that is sort of informed his acting career.
Yeah. He is a delight, I must say.
And his willingness to commit.
Yeah.
Especially when you're working with actors, people who commit either in life or in acting, it's joy and it's positive and it's admirable.
He was one of those people who, if you told him to do something, ask them, do something crazy. And your character is going to be doing competitive eating hot dogs.
Right.
He'd figure out how to competitively eat hot dogs. He'd practice it and practice it and practice it until he got it down great.
Yeah.
Like unbelievable. Like it sounds like torture to some people, but he saw it as a great opportunity. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, this has been great, Phil. I really appreciate it. It was great meeting you or seeing you again if we work together in the rewrite room. Mm-hmm. How was I in the rewrite room? Do you remember?
I can't say specifically.
How were you?
I just have a feeling. Well, I was horrible. I was so desperate to be hired, and the worst thing you can do when you're pitching jokes is have that desperation. But I feel like you, having worked at Carsey Werner, I think I must have walked past you on the Third Rock Bridge at some.
I definitely worked at Radford.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah.
So we must have passed each other in the halls. That was a fun lot.
It was great.
You could see it was very social, it's like going to high school.
Yeah, a lot of shows that had a lot of long runs and a lot of people there for a long time.
Comedy writers, you'd see all kinds of comedy writers and run into them again and again, just like in high school.
Yep, New York Street.
Yeah, fantastic.
Park on New York Street.
All of it.
Put mail in the fake mailbox and then realize that it's not getting mailed.
I didn't put fake mail in the mailbox. Did you?
I know a guy who well, maybe it's a legendary story. I don't know if it's true, but they were parking there and they were putting their electric bill in the mailbox, and then after about a month or two, their electricity got cut off.
Right.
And they realized it was a prop mailbox.
Sure. He didn't realize that on New York Street, a fake street, there might be a fake mailbox.
He spent a lot of money on parking too.
Oh my. All right. Well, I blame him.
Yeah.
I got to blame him. Well, Phil, thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing your stories with us. And if anybody wants to read your book, it's called Dude, Where's My Car-tharsis?
Yeah, Car-tharsis.
Car-tharsis.
Yes.
And if anybody needs a therapist,
absolutely.
You just you have an email or
you Google Phil Stark, and then either writer or therapist will pop up.
Okay. And thank you for being here, and thank you for being here. Please write to me at dbawjk@gmail.com with any of your questions or concerns. Are you concerned about me? Are you worried about my mental health and well-being? Write in, give me advice, give me some help, and don't be alone. I want you to not be alone. Spend some time with somebody you're interested in or care about, and share that experience with other people. And I'll see you next time.